Yeah, yeah, Sati, I think we need some words.
Right? We'll play with words, but I am just loving that chill, like just
Yeah.
taking a moment to breathe and have a little peace, right?
Yes. Yes. We always say, how do we do this? And I'm so
Right?
glad that we are so connected to all the guests because I get on the podcast. Like, I can't wait to have this conversation and see, what they're
Right?
talking about and what works
Right?
and what I can add. Yeah.
Right? How are you? How's it
Mm,
going?
blessed. The temperature is beautiful. We were just talking about me being a band nerd. And so I
Mhm.
always think about football season around this time. We were outside and like in the leaves. So
Mhm.
I've been enjoying my outside time and still getting used to the logistics and everything. Things are switching like week by week. Last week was business taxes. This week we're getting ready for we're getting ready for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Uncle
Oh,
Ray, yeah, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, and he's had this event for the last few years. I want to say this is the fifth year, so we're getting ready for that this weekend, and it should be beautiful weather.
that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm
That's
excited to
really
support the
cool.
family. Yeah, and I love boxing. Like when we talk about wellness, I was kickboxing for 3 years and was not losing this weight, y'all. And then when I changed my food, those inches started coming off.
Mhm.
So that's what I think about when I think about boxing.
I kicked box for a little bit, but I never did it for like any it was always fun when I went. It was like
Yeah.
one of those drop-in classes, but
Mm.
I never did it for any long period of time.
Yeah. It's fun until you feel like you're about to die in the class, and then that never happens. You always make it. Well, it hasn't happened on my experience, right? That was not part of my experience. But
But isn't that any true exercise
yeah.
class, right? It's fun
Yeah.
until you feel like you're gonna die.
Even
Um,
Zumba. I was like, "Do I dance for an hour straight at the party? I don't think I do."
Right. Oh, yeah,
Clearly.
Joe. I go with Joe often on
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursdays, and there's different instructors. And there's one instructor, like, I'm like, she's trying to kill us. She's trying to take us all out right here, right now. And was that really supposed to be a
Uh,
warm up? That was not a
mm,
warm up, ma'am. That was full on. What is
wow.
happening
That was
here?
hot up. It was hot up. Got it.
Shout out to
That's funny.
Fawn. She's an
Yeah.
incredible instructor. And I think she's got energy for like five people.
Mm,
Like, what is happening? So,
mm.
but I always feel better after I do her class.
How are you doing? Good.
I
How are you doing? Was the Zumba class recent?
No, I haven't been. Joe was traveling. I'm
Yeah.
good. No, my latest has been I went kayaking
Mhm.
Saturday. I was on the
Yeah.
Chestatee River, and kayaking is one of my favorites during the
Mm,
summer.
yeah.
And because of my travel schedule and how busy I've been, I hadn't been on the river.
Oh.
And my niece was in town, my niece and her best friend, and they told me that they'd never been kayaking before. And I'm like, what? So I had to take them, and I have not been on the Chestatee in September before, and it was delightful.
Beautiful.
There were native flowers everywhere. I still haven't seen a bear. I still want to see a bear from a distance,
I was
but
about to say not looking for the bear.
no, but like from a distance, I want to
Okay.
see a cute little black bear cub.
Yeah.
Because North Georgia we have them, but I haven't seen one, and but you see all kinds of other animals and birds and turtles. I think we counted close to 200 turtles.
Oh
And
my goodness.
oh yeah, more. And
Turtle
the
Island.
river was shallow, so
Oh.
like one time I scared myself because I like to, when I'm floating, sometimes my hands will get hot when
Mm.
you're rowing, and so I like to
Mhm.
put my hands in the water. And I
Mm.
went to put my hands in the water, and all of a sudden there was a turtle. I was like, "Ooh, that life lesson! Look before you put your hands in the
Got
river."
you. Thank you for
So
that.
right.
It's important.
But it was great. It was a great trip. My body is like, "Whoa, you really haven't done that all season."
Mhm.
And but I'm grateful. I love North Georgia, and the leaves are starting to turn.
Yeah,
In a
they are.
couple of weeks, it's going to be stunning, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm
Mm.
grateful. We need a little rain. That's the farmer's daughter. See, my dad just came. I'm trying to tell you how beautiful it is. My dad just popped right in. We haven't had
Hi,
enough rain.
Landon. Right. Yeah.
Once a farmer's daughter, always a farmer's daughter. Well, how
Yeah.
about we do our official intro and kick off
Okay.
this awesome show?
Let's do it.
Let's do
Hey,
it.
y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur, an Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, best selling author and publisher, and a dancing social worker who helps you upgrade your self and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the eight dimensions of wellness and the co founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations with special expert guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. How do
Mhm.
we do it?
Ooh, and I'm not usually excited. I am excited to learn the answer to that conversation, every podcast. But I'm
Right.
really excited to be like, how do we do it? And be talking about systems of intentional profit today. It's going to be
Right.
good.
I
Yeah.
know this is a guest you have been looking forward to since the first coffee and chat.
And I mean, since I started the business with my
Right,
unemployment, what do
true,
you mean? You know what I
true.
mean? Like when you
That
start a
is true.
business with unemployment, baby,
Since
you
you
looking forward to the
entered
profit.
since you introduced me to Profit First and
Yes,
convinced me to have so many bank accounts,
convinced.
that was
Yeah,
a hard convince.
it is.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
been good. So should I go ahead and read the definition of financial wellness for our listeners so
Yes.
we can kick this off? Let's do it. Financial wellness, according to Women Connected in Wisdom, is an intentional approach to your relationship with money as a tool. It includes stability with current finances, increasing positive financial behaviors like budgeting, reducing debt, saving, and investing. Financial wellness incorporates knowledge and skills that helps to change behavior, reduce financial stress, and also the creation of a strategic financial plan to reach your desired financial goals. I think this guest we have today is going to hit all those markers. Just saying, no
Mm.
pressure, no pressure, Suzanne.
Yeah, no, and I think she's good. I think she's good
Right?
on it with her expertise, you know what I mean? And I'm so excited about this strategic financial plan, because we talk about being dimensional. We have our guests on, and our ladies are doing a lot, right? We're doing a lot. And the point of it is to help the world increase their wellness, yes, and to leave the world a better place. And it's also to make sure that our families are taken care of and that we have what we need to be sustainable and to have everything again taken care of in a strategic way, whether it's long-term care, whether it's dinner tonight, or taking care of the team. We talk about growing teams, but things have got to be set up. So yeah, I'm super excited about it.
All right. You want to
Yes.
read her bio and get her up here?
Let's do it.
Let's
Y'all,
do it.
today our guest, Susanne Mariga, CPA and fractional CFO, specializes in high net worth strategies for 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs using the Profit First system. She is the CEO of the Mariga Group, recognized as a Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business, the 2001 Profit First Professional Firm of the Year, and a recipient of the 2011 Houston Minority Supplier Development E10 Award. Suzanne authored Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises, a Kirkus reviewed and Publishers Weekly editor's pick, written with Mike Michalowicz. She also hosts the Profit Talk podcast and has been featured in the Houston Business Journal, MBE Magazine, and other outlets. Before founding her firm, Suzanne worked at Arthur Anderson LLP and KPMG, gaining industry expertise that she now leverages to help entrepreneurs create profit first business plans. As a certified profit first professional at the mastery level, she is dedicated to helping clients maximize revenue, grow their businesses, and save through effective tax strategies. Help us welcome to the stage, Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne.
Woo!
Hi,
Hey.
I'm so
Welcome.
excited to be here. Thank you. And oh my gosh, I love the vibe. I was in the green room dancing with you guys.
Oh,
So
good.
Good. I was
Good.
wondering, I was like, we should have told Suzanne to dance with us. I'm
Hmm.
glad you did.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had the discussion when we were at our coffee and chat that you're in Houston, Texas, but that
Mhm.
is where I moved from almost 20 years ago to now north of Atlanta. So I have a lot of dear friends and family in that part of the world.
wow, small world. Next time you're here, you're gonna have to we're gonna have to have lunch or something. This is
Oh,
great.
I would love that. I would love that. My Aunt Rosie, who is one of the top 5 funniest people in the world,
Hmm.
lives outside of Houston.
Mm,
And I was about to call her city name, but
mm.
I have just had a brain.
That's
No,
okay.
it's not. I'm not going to be able to call it. I do know it has one of the best Indian food restaurants ever,
Mm.
ever. And I've traveled a lot of places, but yes,
Wow.
right?
And I know you like good restaurants. Suzanne, when I think about Houston, I think about Papa's and Papado, right? Because that's where I was a
Mhm.
kitchen manager. And we were talking before the show about the 300 plus thousand women, right? Who are in a different position than they were in at the beginning of the year. And it's so interesting because kind of like going natural and cutting my hair, I feel like was on the wave before the wave started. So I stepped down when my mom was sick, and glad I did to have time with her since I didn't know her for 12 years in my childhood. So it was really important to me, right? And when I was stepping down, I read this book by Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrants, right? Changed my life about how we make money, the way we think about money, things like that. But when you choose to be in the quadrant, which is self employed or small business, right? What I don't want to do is be a slave to my business. That's where you get stuck sometimes, right? So when you think about profitability and all of your experience, to the people who are at the place where they stop business, because we know most businesses don't make it where Christine and I are about to go. They don't make it past 5 years like my shea butter company did in June, right? The people who feel like they're about to shut down, but they feel like God gave them this thing. They started it in this crazy season of COVID, crazy season of DEI switches. Where would you tell them to start if they want to be intentionally profitable?
Well, congratulations on making that 5-year
Thank
mark.
you.
That's pretty significant.
Thank you so much.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics tells us that 65% of small businesses won't make it to 10 years. And at the 5-year mark, about 50% of them are already gone. So if you are already there at 5 years, that's a pretty big hurdle to make.
Thank you.
So I would say, Shannon, for businesses that really want to make the longevity, I think that one of the things that happens as business owners is we start businesses because we love what we do, right? There's nobody that starts a business because they want their business to fail.
Right.
And I would also say that most business owners, they're artisans. Like that shea buttercream is the best shea buttercream out there in this world, right?
And it is.
And it is. And I would rather buy from a small business any day than a big box retailer because the quality is going to be sharp, that there's going to be so much heart behind the product that's being made. And
Yeah.
if you ever need service warranty, that person's going to fix it real quick, right?
Fix it. Yes.
Unlike the big box realtors or retailers out there.
Yes.
And the question goes, where does it go wrong? Where does it go wrong with businesses? And the reality, what happens with businesses is we run out of cash is what happens. They literally run out of cash. And what I like about the method that I wrote about in my book, Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises, and I probably should switch books because I see, that one there being shown. That's a great book too. Is that it's really about going back to why I started this business, right?
Right.
What were the things that I wanted to achieve outside of having a great product? Because, I think foundationally, number one, we all need to have great products or great services, but
Mm.
why did I actually start this business? And a lot of
Right.
times when I ask people that, they go, "Oh, I started my business because I wanted freedom, because I wanted to be able to have financial security. I want to be able to retire one day and not just retire on like $50,000, right? I wanted to be able to have control of my own future, send my children to college, maybe have my own farm one day."
Yeah.
And it's really important to get back to that why I started my business, because everything that you're going to build, right, needs to be rooted in that why. And I like the profit first methodology because the profit first methodology, first of all, it's a very simple methodology. It works with our innate abilities. There's something called Parkinson's law, and Parkinson's law tells us that as humans, we're very, very efficient. The more you give us, the more we're going to use of it, right? I think of like going out to eat. Before I lost a lot of weight, I was probably visited way too many buffets, right? And I can tell you, I've never left that Golden Corral proud of myself.
Mm.
Now, when I go to hors d'oeuvre dinner, right? Like one of those networking events where my suit is extra tight and I've got the
Mhm,
heels on,
mhm,
I'm going to eat very differently because the portion sizes are small. And there's that social pressure. And that's the way it works in money and business. The more I have of it, the more I spend, which is why people talk about that lifestyle creep.
mhm,
And what it looks like in business is, as I grow, maybe I need that new assistant. Maybe I need that bigger office space, or my tax accountant says I have a tax problem. So I need to buy that 6,000 pound car, right?
mm,
And so I can get rid of my taxes. But what
mhm,
happens is we end up in this spend cycle. We end up in this cycle of getting more revenue, spending it all, and at the end of the day, having nothing to show for our hard work.
mm,
And so, what Profit First does is it creates an intentional system that prioritizes us getting back to why we started our business. And we do this through bank accounts. And a lot of you guys may have heard of Dave Ramsey's envelope budgeting system.
yes,
Dave Ramsey, we have an envelope for everything. You have an envelope for your rent. As soon as you get paid, you fund that rent envelope. You have a envelope for groceries. You might have an envelope for eating out, but you have an envelope for every purpose of your life.
yes,
And that's exactly how it works in Profit First. But instead of having envelopes, because that would be a security risk, right? Like Christine, where's your envelope at? But we don't want any of you guys having envelopes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have bank accounts.
yeah,
And what's going to happen is as soon as a customer pays us, money is going to go into one bank account. That's called the income account.
mhm,
And twice a month, we're going to allocate this money into other bank accounts based upon their designated purpose. So, one of the first accounts that we're going to allocate to is going to be our profit account. And this literally is your profit. So, even if you've been running at a loss in your business, you are profitable on day one because you have funded this profit bank account as a percentage of your revenue. The next bank account that you're going to fund is going to be your owner's pay account. I can't tell you how many business owners I've met. And when they start their business, their goal is, I want to make six figures. I want to make six figures take home. And, they reach $100,000 and 10 years later, they're still paying themselves $100,000 in salary. And the problem with that is your business revenue has grown, right? Your sales have grown, you're still in business, but your compensation is still the same.
mm,
And so what we're going to do in Profit First is we're going to pay you a percentage of your revenue. And so as your revenue goes up, as your revenue increases, what's going to happen is your salary is going to be increasing. So you're going to be rewarded based upon the performance of your business. And that next bank account that you're going to fund is going to be your tax account. And as a CPA, one of the things that has always like struck me as funny is, I would have people calling me, and it's probably not funny if you're in a situation. And we're like, okay, how am I going to pay last year's taxes with this year's money? Like, what's your plan for this? And the good news is taxes are never going to be your problem again. And they're never going to be your problem again because we're going to be funding a tax bank account. Now, hopefully we don't use all of it because we're going to be using tax strategy. You're meeting with your CPA, but still, we've got the money reserved just in case we need it. And that last bank account that you're going to fund, that last bank account is going to be your operating expense account. And this is the account that you're going to make decisions on, such as, can I afford that new assistant that's out there? Can I afford to upgrade in my office space to that next level? Can I afford to buy that new car, right? Do I really need that new car? And so instead of all your money being available to spend in one bank account like it is today, where you're literally collecting money and it's also draining out, it's got a hole in that bucket, right? Where you're running expenses and hoping that whatever there's money left over at the end of the month for profit. Now you've created intentional profit. You have used physics through money transfers to create profitability.
I love that, and it's so important, y'all, like, 1, how do you create a budget out of one bank account for multiple things? So if there's one bank account, how do you know what is getting more inventory? What's the marketing? What about markets? What about the commission for the people that went to the markets? That's a lot, you know. Um, I can tell you guys, and I share with Suzanne that I think this system, and I've shared on the podcast plenty of times, Profit First and Mike McAllowitz, if you've been listening to our 204 episodes, right? Um, but this system, I believe, is why we are still on air. If you are listening to this podcast, right, it's because of the system. If you're going to listen to the second audiobook for volume 2 that's about to come out, because of the system. Shea Low Glow and the Shea Butter, we're about to, start production again. and again, just share that that past 5 years, that's because of the system, because as Christina shared, financial wellness is an opportunity that I have to grow strengths in as a business owner. And multiple budgets in one account, I I get overwhelmed just thinking about it. So when I listened to the audiobook and it said separated, that made perfect sense. I would love here to go into the question I asked you when we first met. And you're talking about the profit first, right? And moving that money, whatever your current percentage allocation is, to the profit first. I'll leave it there, to the profit account first, right? At the end of the year, what do you do with the profit account? That was something me and my business partners have been talking about. Can you please break it down to our listeners?
Well, first of all, Shannon, please don't wait till the end of the year to
Oh, no, we
celebrate.
won't. Yeah,
Okay,
no, we
please,
won't. Let's
please,
talk
please
about it.
don't do that.
Thank you
And
for the
actually,
reminder.
what we want to do is we want to have a quarterly celebration. Is what we want to have, right?
Right, right.
Because as human beings, we have to win, right? We
Mm,
have to be winning in order to be motivated to continue to do this.
mm,
And so just like you would invest in a S&P stock, right? Just like you would invest in a Procter and Gamble stock, your business is an investment and your business should be paying you dividend. And so this profit account is your dividend in many ways. So what's going to happen on profit first is you're building up money in this profit account because you're doing those transfers twice a month in that profit bank account. And what you're going to do at the end of the quarter after you've accumulated money, that first of the month, right? That's going to happen. What you're going to do is you're going to take half of that money and you're going to do yourself a favor. You're going to give yourself stress-free nights. And you're going to do that because you're going to be building retained earnings. So you're going to take half of that money and you're going to put it into a vault bank account. And you want this bank account to be far away if you're on the north side of town, way on the south side of town, Christine, you know what I'm talking about, right? Far away, Pearland, if you're in Cyprus, right? Far, far away, preferably in this little itty bitty bank that doesn't have online banking. We're talking like Bank of Texas where people still walking with cowboy boots and
mm,
cowboy hat, and don't make them mad in Texas because they do carry guns, right?
mhm.
You want it in one of those banks. And the reason why is you want that money to be not accessible. Like you're going to have to want to think three times before I actually travel to that bank to go get that money, right? Do I really need it? Do I want to like put on these clothes and drive all the way down to get this money? You want to make it so hard to get that this money has a reason to accumulate, right? Because this money is going to get you through those storms. We talk about 300,000 people just got laid off, right?
Right.
Federal government jobs. This is what's going to keep you secure as time goes by in your business. You're going to put away that money into this vault account. Now that other half, depending on your second situation, I talked about I'm going to give you a gift of being able to sleep at night.
Mhm,
If you have debt, you're going to take that half of that money that's been stored in your profit account and you're
mhm,
going to do something called a debt snowball. And
mhm.
you're going to pay down your smallest debt first.
And when you say debt, you're referring to business debt.
I'm talking about business debt, right? And
Okay.
the great thing about Profit First is you can use it in your personal life too, but you're going to pay down your smallest debt first. So that smallest credit card, you're going to pay that off. Once that card is gone, you're going to take that money and you're going to pay off the next smallest one. So you're going to do a debt snowball because you're going to give yourself the gift of being able to sleep at night because you're going to be debt free.
Yeah.
Now, if you're already debt free, I'm high fiving you across the screen here on YouTube. But what you're going to do is that's going to be your mad money. That's going to be your celebration money. We talked about dividend, right? That's
Mhm.
going to be the money that you're going to celebrate on because your business needs to reward you, the owner, for taking a chance and starting this business. So that's what you're going to do with that profit bank account.
I love it. I hope y'all are excited about the profit. We talk about opportunities and getting connected to resources, and so many of our listeners, our guests, are business owners, so I want us to build sustainable systems that make it worth the while. Can you talk about where do I want to start? We talked about the accounts, we talked about the debt snowball. Can we talk about owner's compensation? When I think about Profit First Days, I think about the 10th and the 25th, right? If somebody is not where that $100,000 business owner, right? If they're struggling with how do I pay myself from the business, where would you have them start?
So it's interesting. In Profit First, we actually don't start with a dollar amount. So, we understand it takes it takes a while to build up to a level of revenue to give yourself a set salary.
Yes.
And so the great thing about a profit first is that it works no matter where you are in your business journey, whether you're a startup or you've been in business for 10 years, it works for you day one that you decide to do it.
Right.
And it's based upon a percentage. And I always tell people start with where you are. If you've been running your business at a loss, start with 1% profitability, a 1% owner's pay, because you've already course corrected. I mean, like if you've been running a loss and now you're profitable day one, that is amazing. You've already turned and flipped the ship around. And so start with that 1% and then build it from there. Every quarter, make it a game. Look at your bank statement, look at your financial statements and go, okay, what am I paying for that I'm not using? I'm a subscription fan. I see them show up on my Facebook. I see them show up on Instagram. And now you can hire like AI employees. Like I'm
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, I need that subscription. And and and
Right.
so the problem with subscriptions is you buy them and you forget them. And that's how they make money, right? Because of that auto billing.
Right.
And so
So true.
it's terrible, right? It's like they just know how to, it's like salt and potato chips, or they know how to get you, right?
Mhm.
And so, what you want to do is review those bank statements, review those that profit and loss, and look, and not just the profit and loss, go in your QuickBooks and double click on those accounts and go,
Mhm.
what's in these accounts? And am I really using it? If I haven't used it in 90 days, I probably don't need it anymore.
Mhm.
And also, like, how many seats am I paying for in software that I'm not using? Maybe that employee's long gone and I decided not to replace that person, right?
Mhm.
And so, what are my seats that are not being used? Maybe instead of 5 licenses, I only need 3, and celebrate the small wins. And those small wins, they go towards increasing your profit percentage. They go towards increasing your owner's pay percentages.
I love it. Okay, let's see if there's any outstanding questions. Let me see. I feel like there is one more that I had. Christine, you have anything that you would like to ask Suzanne as we're talking about
Well, I love this
the system?
clarification. And
Mhm.
Shannon is way more versed on this system than I am. She's kind of brought me into it, dragging, kicking, and screaming. But I will, Suzanne, after meeting you, read your book because I'm excited about it. And I love how excited
Wonderful.
you are about it and the celebrating of it. I'm a huge celebration and making things a game. Like the more fun it can be for me, the better.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
love that. We were talking about before you came on air about the times we're living in and about the fact that there's a lot of insecurity and there's a lot of we don't know what's I mean, I think that's true anytime, honestly,
Mhm.
when you're an adult, we don't
Mhm.
know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
We just pretend we do. So how do we prepare ourselves
Mm.
for the not knowing or for the possibility of a recession?
Mhm.
How do we be smart about that as women connected in wisdom?
And I love that question, Christine, because it's a question that's really rooted in being proactive, right? And that's one of the best things that we can do right now for ourselves is be proactive, no matter what happens in our future. And I think the profit first method, implementing that today is extremely important. It's extremely important to start building that vault account, right? Building that rainy day fund, because we never know when we might not have sales that week and we have to make payroll. And so having that vault account is extremely important. I think now it's important to build those relationships. So build that relationship with, your banker, right? Apply for that line of credit even if you have no intention of ever using it, right? Your financial statements look good, at least you have it there in case you need it. Now, the next thing I would do is start to meet those factoring companies. I actually a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I'm afraid of factoring. I don't want to do factoring." That's a whole lot better than subprime lending, right? And so, yes, it might cost me 3% of my invoices. Yes, I might have to raise my prices by 3% to cover that, right? And maybe I get ready to start doing that, but at least I have that relationship that is going to allow me to step into that. If I need to sell invoices, I can go ahead and do that through a factoring relationship. So really it's about being proactive. It's about building that. And I would also say, think about yourself personally too, right? And how you're paying yourself, and not just how you're paying yourself, but what are you doing with that money? I remember when I got my first profit distribution, it was like, oh my gosh, like probably 8 years ago, because Mike's book came out in 2014. I went out and bought a piano.
Wow.
And I was happy with that piano, but then I started thinking to myself, I don't need like 10 pianos. What am
Mhm.
I going to do with this money? Yes, I went out and bought a Louis Vuitton, but I'm like, do I need another Louis Vuitton, right?
Right, right.
But I said, you know what? It might be good to start funding my retirement more
Mhm.
aggressively,
Yes.
right? It's time for me to start thinking about the future, Suzanne. And I was really happy because it allowed me to retire at the age of 46.
Yes.
You know,
Congratulations. Hold on,
thank
we're gonna do
you.
the a victory bell. It's the other victory instrument.
But what I'm saying is start thinking about your future you. It's not about the Louis Vuitton purse, right? We're all ladies out here.
Yeah.
Start funding your retirement account. Start thinking strategically from a tax perspective. Like,
Yes.
why do I need to pay money to the tax system when there are pre-tax retirement accounts that will save me money? Yes, it'll be an expense on my profit and loss statement, but what it's going to do is I'm just passing money from my right hand to my left hand. I'm putting money
Yes.
into my retirement account, and for some of us, that means putting away $66,000. If you're having a good year right now,
Mhm.
even if you're not, put away what you can. Put that money into a retirement account and start diversifying your portfolio. Maybe you're looking at an investment account. I can't tell you how many people I met, especially women. We don't know what we don't know. And they're
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
yes, I put away money in my savings account. I'm like, your savings account that might earn 1% interest per
Mhm.
year.
Mhm.
I'm like, why not
Right.
put some S&P mutual funds that are earning 26% right now, right? And start, and again, it's dollar cost averaging and putting away money for your future self so that that money is there. Maybe to me, maybe that's more of a win right now for me.
Right. Absolutely. I love that you address that, especially for women. I've been seeing a lot on social media. I stumbled on somebody's account the other day that just broke my heart. But she's a mom of three and she was in an abusive relationship and getting out, and she was doing a GoFundMe for her lawyer. Right. And I think as women, like sometimes, we know financial abuse is real, and we can get in these situations. So the more we learn, the more we can take care of ourselves. And I was even thinking, I have a social work background, Suzanne, so my brain always goes there. But I'm like, oh, yeah, that vault account. I think
Yeah.
every woman should have a vault account personally,
Mhm.
that if you need it in case of an emergency for yourself, your kids, your family, you can access it.
Mhm.
I love that. But I had a question for our listeners, Suzanne, who are hearing you and your brilliance, and they're like, okay, what did she just say about investing? How would
Hmm.
you, for somebody that's brand new to financial wellness, how would you help them to find a financial advisor? Like, even that basic. Like, how would you encourage them to seek out somebody that has knowledge in finances? Does that
So
make
I
sense?
think absolutely. So
Okay.
I would say, first of all, it's educating yourself, first of
Mhm.
all, right? I mean, get your hands on as much material as you can. I mean, one of the best books I read when I was 23 years old and just out of college was Susie Orman's book, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and
I
and it just
remember
got me
that one.
thinking. Yes, yes, yes. And just just learning like, okay, how investments grow and what stocks to even do I need to be learning about crypto and things like that. And no, you don't. You don't have to be investing in crypto to become a millionaire. It's dollar cost averaging. It's $20 a week if that's where you have to start, right? Money grows, it multiplies, and then that money grows, and eventually your money works for you. And it's like having a bunch of AI employees, right? When your money is working for you. I think of each dollar as being like an AI employee in many ways. And so it's really how to, and I like to think about it from an entrepreneur standpoint. I think from an entrepreneur standpoint, we think of, okay, time is limited. I think Shannon, you mentioned that time is limited, right?
Mhm.
And so it's important to be able to leverage. How do I leverage and grow my money without my time, right? In
Yes.
entrepreneurship, it's hiring employees, right? And
Mhm.
getting them on board where they're working for you. And in terms of retirements, how do I make my money work for me? It becomes an important question there. And so I would say start with reading. Next thing, interview your financial advisors like you would do an employee. Do I trust this person with my money? Do they care about me? Are they answering my questions? Are they giving me feedback that I never thought about before? Because this person, you're going to be paying them a percentage of assets in some cases.
Mhm.
And so make them work for it. Make them earn that position of working for you. And, and then also it's about knowing what you believe in, doing your research on your investments. There's S&P 500 stocks that mimics the economy. Do I believe in the US economy? Do I want to take on a little bit more risk? Start reading like the prospectuses of the different funds that are out there, and going, okay, well, where do I want to invest in? Where do I think America is going? And where do I want to put my money at? And what do I want to support?
All right, Suzanne, what do you read every day for your
Ooh,
finances?
for my finances. Well, I read tax returns, but
Okay.
and I go, what could we have done differently?
Mhm.
But really, where do you look for your financial information? And I know you're so highly educated and one of the experts in the field now, but like, what do you look at?
I read a lot of financial information. I watch CNBC Money. I see Kramer all the time. I read prospectuses. I on my phone, I have like a ticker of different stocks. And I'm like, okay, how's this one doing? How's that one doing? I mean, you could even start with Yahoo Finance and like, okay, look at different investments that are out there. But I would say start somewhere, but it's even more important that you start putting away money. That's really
Right,
what's important. So
right.
even if you're putting like $10 a week, and I would say auto draft it. So if you're paid on a 10th and 25th of the month, on the
Mhm,
11th of the month, that money is auto drafted, not into a savings account, but
mhm.
into a investment broker account,
Mhm.
and
Very
have it
important.
auto invested into a stock of your choice.
Mhm, mhm. We were talking about the value of pennies the other day, and this it's gone down, you know what I mean? So, really what I hear of the comparisons of a few years ago is the money has lost the value like 30 times. So, if we're looking at stuff, we're talking about 1% return, 3% return, but inflation has increased stuff 150%. We wanna get closer to this 26%, y'all. We gotta get closer to it, you know? And again, and I shared in the volume 2 with intellectual wellness, as we're working towards unmitigated financial freedom, businesses and things like this. We talked about Dave Ramsey. I talked about Mike Michalowicz and Profit First in my chapter. These systems are imperative so that we can use that money that we're making from our jobs, right? Made on W-2 and tax a certain way to minimize our taxable income, right? So yes, it's an expense on the business, but that's fine because that's what business is for. And then we're also funding retirement accounts, right? Retirement accounts, tax free. And then we're minimizing tax bills on our personal side and the business side. That's yes, yes, and yes. No matter what happens at the end of the year, for where we're at today, we're better positioned.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. Thank you so much. So when you think about building relationships, I hear you saying, hey, don't wait for that line of credit. If you think you might need it, go ahead and start working on that right now. What is building an authentic relationship with a banker? When I think about it, you're at the bank, you're busy right now. How can I build that relationship and not be cheesy or not be like this person is just trying to like be on my good side? What does that look like?
And I think it's easier to do that with the smaller banks,
Mm,
or if you're part of your Women Business Enterprise Alliance or
mm,
the Minority Business Council, they have bankers there that will attend their various sessions, and it's important to get to know them and, go have lunch with them, go to their office and just say, hey, I just want to, am I eligible to have a loan right now, or a line
yeah.
of credit, and just
Mm,
start the conversations. I sold my accounting practice in 2022.
mm,
And we had a traditional accounting practice. And it was interesting because I actually met my broker 5 years before I ever even thought of selling my business. Like
wow.
literally, he would call me. I met him at a Houston Society of CPAs networking event. And
Yes.
every year he would call me and be like, so you want to sell your business? I'm like, no, I'm doing this thing. I'm liking it. Are you, a consulting business? I'm building that, but I'm fine. Every year he would just call random times just to
Mm,
chat and say, are you ready to sell? And one year he just happened to call during a time that I was in transition of hiring a tax manager again. And I said, it probably cost me as much to hire a tax manager to actually get profit from this. And so you never know when you're going to need that relationship. But I think they say there's a loneliness epidemic right now in America. Let's all go out and meet some more friends, right? you,
Yeah.
you never know what that person might be able to add to your life, or you might be able to add to theirs.
Mm, I love it. So, and this was the last question I think I had for you that I was talking about earlier. When we think about the profit first system and then your iteration of the book, what do you feel like is different in things that like I as a business owner need to keep in mind that may not have been already covered in the first edition of the book?
So, Profit First for minority business enterprises is a little bit different than Profit First. I mean, the Profit First methodology is a lifesaver, and
Yeah.
that's part's definitely the same. And I think what the difference is between the two books is Profit First for Minority Business Enterprise is meant for that person that may not have been gifted that gift of having a parent that had a college education or a business handed to them. Because yes, I've worked with entrepreneurs that have had businesses, multi-million dollar businesses handed to them. That was their
Beautiful.
legacy. But
Mm,
most of us who are people of color, we don't have that option. I was the first to graduate from college in my mother's family, and
mm,
that was a big deal. And so we don't have that background of knowledge being passed down. And so the difference between Profit First and Profit First for MBEs is we do talk about government contracting. I know that's kind of in a strange limbo now, but there's actually some pretty good morsels because government contracting isn't going to go away.
mm,
But now how we approach it might be a little bit different, right? And how we
right.
bid for them might be a little different. But how we bid from them from a financial standpoint is in that book.
Mm. I've
Tax
been thinking about
strategy
it. Okay.
is also in that book, right? Where I
Mm,
talk about what I talked about today about, you know, finding ways to deduct for taxes without actually
mhm,
spending money that actually builds your wealth, right? Versus
mhm.
going out and buying a 6,000 pound car, right? And so again, finding strategic ways to save on taxes, that is also in that book. And then I
Beautiful.
think the thing that I love about the book too is it's a legacy that keeps on giving. And
Mm,
one of the things that I did with the book was I set it up as a permanent endowment.
mm.
Shannon, you're an author, we don't get much money from books, right?
Right, right.
And so 25% of that book goes towards a charity. It actually goes to Hope Worldwide, where we send girls in Zimbabwe to school. And every year since the book has come out in 2021, we have filled up a classroom of young girls in
Mm,
Zimbabwe girls that we have sent to school. And I always
congratulations.
laugh about that. Thank you. Because, Zimbabwe is a country where you might have polygamy.
Mm,
Your option might be getting married, right?
mm,
When you grow up. But I'm like, you can't tell a doctor that she has to be somebody's second or third wife.
mm,
So we are changing legacy. So part of that legacy is that, 25% or a dollar of every book is now going towards sending girls to school.
that's
Profit
beautiful.
from the book.
Congrats. I love that so much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, that is powerful.
So when
I was just over here because I love reading and I was like, okay, where am I accessing her book?
Mhm,
And I was checking out my local library so I can request it. I'm a big supporter of our libraries. And that's the other thing I wanted to say to our listeners when you talk about that, Suzanne, about start reading, start doing, so many of these resources that you're mentioning are available at our libraries. And
mhm,
then that therefore they're available on our phones, and there's ways to access them pretty inexpensively if you're just starting out.
mhm. And that's what I wanted to touch on, the accounts. I would love to get away from these $16 a month account fees, right? Because again, we're set up in Profit First, and we have the specialty accounts, right? We grew to advertising and different things, getting ready for the team, right? But I know you have Profit First bank account, so can you tell us more about that? How do we access it so that I can switch over?
Absolutely. And I actually have a link that I can share with you guys.
Yes.
That it's kind of like the fast pass into this bank. Profit First has a preferred bank, and it's called Relay Bank.
Mm,
And, this bank, what I like about this bank is that it will do the transfers for you
Yeah.
automatically. I can't tell you how many times I've seen entrepreneurs and I'm like, time to make your transfers. And their hands are shaking. They're like, well, if I make a transfer, will I be able to pay payroll if I pay myself? Well, now you don't have to think about it. You can even set your transfers up so that it happens every single day, right?
Mm,
For Relay Bank. And I like Relay Bank because they let you have up to, I want to say 20 bank accounts
okay.
without having any fees.
Okay.
Which is nice. I know I would go to my local bank and I'd be like, "I need to set up another bank account." And, like, you could see this lady fall over and laugh even though, like, she wasn't really like, "Why do you need another bank account?" Right?
I need
And
it.
I'm like, "No, I need it."
Yes.
And so they're not gonna ask you why you're setting up a bank account because they expect you to have a lot of bank accounts because this is the profit first preferred bank. So,
Mm,
Shannon, I will go ahead and give you the link for that bank so that you can
thank
post
you.
it for everybody.
Yes, I would love that. Okay, so I have another question. What is the highest amount of bank accounts that you have had in one account?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Uh,
I wanna say 11?
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I wanna
So
say
not
11.
20. We never
No,
got
no,
to
no.
okay, and I was like, "How?" And I know that we can be very specific, you know what I mean? But y'all, if you're worried about the iteration, like, I don't see 20 bank accounts, you know? I think right now one business has, like, 8, and that's the most I see, maybe another one. Um, but I'm so inspired by it's crazy, this woman who ripped off Dennis Rodman, and she had, like, 84 accounts. I'm like, "If she has this many accounts, like, oh, I can do this." We can do this to figure it out for the betterment of the world if she did it to take somebody's money, you know?
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
Wow,
crazy.
wow.
And so talking about wellness, right, and intentionality, Suzanne, each week we do a wisdom in action and ask our guests what they're doing for themselves in the next 7 days to maintain their wellness. Because, you know, you can have it and then kind of slide on stuff. So, what are you doing for your financial wellness this week?
So for my financial wellness, I am gonna keep on keeping on. The 25th is coming up tomorrow, so I'll definitely make sure I do my tap transfer, right?
Yes, yes.
To create the outcome that I want at the end of the day. So I would say that's gonna be the biggest thing that I'm gonna do for my financial wellness. And I
Mhm.
also think in 6 days, right, we've got our, celebration time too, our profit distribution.
Yep, yep, because it's the end of the quarter, and so we're getting ready to go into the next quarter. And y'all, that's what I love when she was talking about the percentages. Again, it says to start the profit account at 1 or 2%, right? And then each quarter, you're looking at those accounts, like she said, and you're changing that current percentage allocation on each account. So I love that. What about you, Christine?
I think I am reading
Mm.
Suzanne's book. Is what
Mm,
I'm doing for my I meant to do it before you came on, Suzanne, because I know Shannon is such a fan, and
mhm.
I've just been traveling a lot, and I haven't had a chance to do it. So that's what I'm doing for my financial wellness is I
Mm.
am reading the wisdom of our incredible guest.
Oh, I love it. And y'all, I don't know why I'm still nervous about it, and I know it's gonna work out. So first, you're talking about reading. I'm still reading this Super Learning 3000, right? And so we have a lot of skills to learn, doing great in business, but we need some things consistent, right, through emergencies and political shifts. Um, and so what this book is talking about, and I'll say keep reading too. Um, is just really recentering yourself in your body and connecting your heart and your mind, taking a deep
Mhm.
breath and trusting that you can learn anything and recall easily when you get there, you know? And so I know Profit First works. It's not even Profit First because you can have the accounts, but if you're not, like Suzanne said, she said, go back into QuickBooks, y'all. QuickBooks isn't even attached to the new accounts, and I'm about to change the accounts again, you know, so you can pay for QuickBooks, the subscription, like we were talking about, it's being paid for, it's not being used. You know, we have to have the action behind the wisdom, and that's what we're talking about right here. So I'm super excited for them to use the information that you shared today to help their businesses grow and be sustainable. Is there anything else when you think about having a system for intentional profit that we can mention that we haven't already told our listeners outside of everything you have on your pages in your book?
I think that people often ask me what's the hardest part about Profit First.
Mm,
And it's interesting because I always laugh when they ask me that. And literally the hardest part about Profit First is just getting started.
Mhm. Mhm.
People will come
mm,
up with 1,000 excuses. I have to set up, 8 bank
I would agree
accounts.
with that. Yeah.
They They're like, "I don't wanna go to my banker, and, I don't have time to do this." But the reality is, until you start, you'll never get there. So
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
start with 1% and then just build it from there.
I
They say
love
the best
that.
time to have started something was 10 years ago, and the next best
Mhm.
time is today. So
Mhm.
just start building that journey. And I'll tell you guys about me and
Yeah.
something that I've done. My mom's family I mentioned earlier, I was the first generation to go to college.
Mm.
And, this summer I traveled the world this summer.
Mhm.
And, I'm turning 50 this year, and I said, I've got more years behind me than ahead of me." And I woke up one morning and said, "I wanna see the world. I wanna see the world for what it is." And I didn't have to save money for this to happen. I just said, "Okay." I called my best friend. I said, "We're leaving in about 3 weeks. Go get your visa because 'cause we're gonna go to China." And she's like, "Okay, we're going to China." And we literally backpacked all across China. We flew into Hong Kong. We took a train to Guangzhou. We took another train to Shanghai, and we left out of Beijing, and we saw the Great Wall. We saw, like, the Forbidden City, and oh my gosh, and
Mhm.
it literally felt like we were living a something that we had never even dreamed of living.
Mhm.
And then I went to Europe after. I went to Paris, I went to Madrid, I went to Italy, and those dreams only happened because I started with 1%. I started with 1% just like many of you, and I built it from there.
I love it. Start with 1%. That's like the title of a book too. Yes, and
I love that.
congratulations on being able to go.
Thank
Right?
you.
Mhm. Of
I
course.
love that. I love you gotta ring the victory bell, Shannon.
Oh, listen. Yes, for the
Well done,
Forbidden
Susan.
City and the Great Wall.
Yeah, Suzanne, thank you so much for your wisdom and for sharing it with folks. Because that's the other thing is like there's a lot of people that have knowledge and don't share. And
Mm,
thank you for sharing it with our listeners and being
yeah.
open to questions. And how do folks reach you?
Mm,
If they want to work with you, what's the best place to reach you?
So the best way to reach me is I would say, let's figure out what your tap percentages is, right? When I say tap, I mean your target allocation percentages, what your goal would be. And I actually have that available for free. If you go to www.profitmap.co, not com, .co, couldn't get the com, but I got the co. You can actually download a PDF. I'm also offering a masterclass. We haven't set up a date yet, where I'm going to be teaching the ins and outs of Profit First, wholly free on Zoom. So if you got pressing questions about Profit First, like how does this work? Suzanne doesn't gonna I haven't done a class in like maybe a couple of years. So like literally I'm gonna be hosting a class. So this is your time to get front and center attention of me in a private Zoom room where I'm gonna literally be teaching the ins and outs of Profit First for free.
that's amazing. That's exciting, y'all.
Wait, when is that? Because Shannon's got to put it on her calendar. Me too, but
Yeah.
for sure. Like I.
I think you said you're working on it, right, Suzanne?
Right. We haven't set the date yet.
Okay.
Mhm.
If you go to profitmap.co, you will get the email of when that class launches.
Got
All
it.
right. We'll do
Yeah.
it. We'll
Yes,
make
I'm
sure
here.
we're in the queue.
Thank you so much.
So grateful. And we're so grateful that we're connected.
Well,
Yes,
I'm happy to be here with you guys. So thank you for having me.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we'll be connected on social media and everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
Mm, so good.
Yes.
All right. What'd you think? You were so excited. And so are
Yeah.
you inspired? Are you ready to go?
And honestly, that's how I feel after every show. And
Mhm.
absolutely, yes,
Mhm.
um, I know that we are not yet at the 7 and 8 figure business that,
Mhm.
she's used to helping,
Mhm.
but I think it's still great. We started with the 1%. I think we actually started with 2% in all the
Mhm.
businesses.
Mhm.
And what I got from it from this conversation is start again. If sometimes the most difficult thing is to start, maybe the second difficult thing is to start again sometimes, and
Mhm.
so that's where we're at after the emergencies and the paternity leave and the ebbs and flows of life, and even though that everything that happened wasn't expected when we started, it's the reality of how life goes. And
Mhm.
sometimes we just got to start again and get the pace and have the system sustainable so we can bring on the teams and scale the businesses.
Right. And what
Yeah.
I took from that conversation, because you have been training me up in this method for a couple of years now,
Mm.
is we got to get that vault account.
And
And
that.
I don't know if New Jersey has the city like Atlanta, so it may need to
Mhm.
be in Atlanta. It may
Mhm.
need, because with Atlanta traffic, like we could
Phew,
put it to,
my goodness.
like, and I won't be touching that. I'd
Yeah.
be like, what?
Right. And you know what's funny? Did you give me the Budgetista book? I think you did, didn't you?
Probably.
Probably. And I
I
was
don't know.
it's on the list that I need to
Hmm.
finish. And I opened up the Sophie account because she advised that you have a savings account that's hard to reach, right? Just
Hmm.
like Suzanne was just
Hmm.
talking about. And y'all, that Sophie money it was difficult to bring it back when I needed to bring it back. And that's what we want, you know. So we have some options and I can support you from up here. We'll talk about it. But that
I
vault
love that.
account, y'all, we've seen the seasons, you know, and again, like emergencies, we've talked about grief, we've talked about new life, things happen. And
Mhm.
we want to keep it sustainable and not call our teams off and then have to go back into tasks that we were excited about letting go. And here goes the sleep that Suzanne was talking about, and that's got to stay on the schedule. So
Right.
yeah, yeah, I'm
So
excited
much.
to start
Oh,
again.
well, yeah, I'm excited. This is good stuff.
Keep
Anything
reading.
we need to shout out before we close episode 204?
Well, we've been shouting it out. Your amazing work on YouTube, right? We've been having a phenomenal job doing phenomenal time meeting with guests, doing the podcast for you guys. Again, this is episode 204. So if you're liking the content, if you like to be connected to the guests and their key pieces of action that you can do that day to elevate your dimension of wellness and your wisdom, go ahead and subscribe so that you'll get those
Mhm.
notifications so you can ask Suzanne and our other guests questions live. You know, you'll be alerted when we're about to go live. You'll have it on your schedule so you don't forget. And that way it doesn't have to get overwhelming. You know, receipts, you let them stack up, it gets overwhelming. Work on the wellness, it's the same thing. So we break it down and keep it easy. And we have some stuff coming up. We have the audio book. Suzanne was talking about classes. We've taken a break from classes with not having a book this year, but we have some classes coming for you guys. So go ahead and subscribe so you stay in the loop with us. And I think that's everything that I have. What about you? You have anything else they should know about?
No, I think that's the main things. I'm
Okay.
excited that the audiobook is coming.
Me
I
too.
am excited that we have so many incredible guests coming up,
Oh
and
my goodness, I know.
we've got people talking about book 3 already. So
Yeah, we do.
we're looking towards 2026 and
Yeah.
mapping some things out, and more shall be revealed.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us live tonight. We'll see you live at 5 next week. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. Peace.